They stood in my kitchen, two grown adults I'd raised since they were barely tall enough to reach the counter, telling me I was never their real parent. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe, hit the hype button, and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I opened my banking app, scrolled to education payments, and pressed cancel. Their phones buzzed seconds later. Mina screamed first. Jared followed. I stepped aside so they could both read the same message. Your tuition has been suspended. Please contact your financial guardian. Yeah, I said, pocketing my phone. Call your father. Your real one. That was the moment their world cracked, and the moment I finally walked out of mine. The night shift at Seattle Metro Rail was quiet in the way only underground places can be. A thick, pressing silence broken only by the hum of ventilation systems and the occasional distant rumble of a train. I liked it down here. Liked the predictability of machines, the straightforward logic of maintenance schedules, the honest work of keeping things running. Up above, in the house I paid for, nothing was predictable anymore. I checked my watch. 3:17 in the morning. My shift ended at 6, but I'd been pulling doubles lately. Easier than going home. The break room couch had become more familiar than my own bed. You look like garbage, Rivers. Dean Martinez, one of the younger techs, dropped into the folding chair across from me. When's the last time you actually slept? I sleep? On that couch? That thing's older than Mina. I winced at her name. Dean noticed. Sorry, man. Didn't mean to. It's fine. I rubbed my eyes, felt the grit of exhaustion behind them. Just tired. Your wife still giving you grief about the overtime? Miranda. My wife of 15 years. Mother to 2 children I'd raised as my own since they were small enough to sit on my shoulders. Children who now towered over me in height and entitlement both. She thinks I'm avoiding them, I said. Are you? Absolutely. Dean laughed, but it faded quickly when he saw my expression. That bad? I thought about last Tuesday. Coming home early to find Jared and 6 of his college buddies passed out in my living room, empty bottles everywhere, my favorite chair stained with something I didn't want to identify. Miranda's only response. They're college kids, Colten. Remember what that was like? I'd worked full-time through college, paid my own way, never once trashed someone else's home. It's complicated, I said finally. Family always is. Dean stood, stretched. But hey, at least machines make sense, right? You tighten a bolt, it stays tight. You replace a part, problem solved. If only. My phone buzzed. Text from Miranda. Jared needs $800 for books. Can you transfer it? I stared at the message. Jared was a junior in college. Sports management major. I'd already paid $12,000 for this semester's tuition. How many books could one person need? I texted back, I sent money for books in September. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Those were for fall semester. These are for winter quarter. Different classes. My jaw tightened. I'd gone to community college, worked nights, bought used textbooks that I resold at semester's end. Jared attended a private university on my dime and apparently needed $800 every few months for books he probably never opened. I'll look at it tomorrow, I typed. He needs it today. Registration closes at noon. I closed my eyes. Opened them. The tunnel walls pressed in. Fine. No thank you. No acknowledgement. Just, okay. I transferred the money, watched my checking account dip lower, thought about the overtime I'd been pulling, the double shifts, the hours away from home, all of it going to support people who looked at me like I was a necessary inconvenience. The rest of the shift blurred. Track inspection on the southbound tunnel, brake system check on Unit 47, paperwork, more paperwork. By the time 6 a.m. rolled around, I felt hollowed out. I should have gone home, should have showered, changed, maybe tried to sleep. Instead, I drove to the all-night diner on Pike Street and ordered coffee so strong it could strip paint. The waitress, name tag said Betty, face said she'd seen too much of life to be surprised by anything, refilled my cup without asking. Rough night? Rough year. She nodded like she understood. Maybe she did. My phone buzzed again, this time Mina. Dad? She still called me that when she wanted something. My roommate's parents are taking us to dinner Friday. Somewhere nice. I need a new outfit. Can I use your card? I read it twice. She had a closet full of clothes. I knew because I'd paid for most of them. How much? I texted back. Maybe $300? There's this dress at Nordstrom. $300. For one dress, for one dinner. I thought about my father, who'd worked construction until his back gave out. who'd worn the same 3 shirts in rotation for years, who taught me that you earn what you get and you appreciate what you earn. That's a lot, I typed. It's not even that expensive. Emma's dad gave her $500 for her outfit. Emma's dad was a corporate lawyer. I fixed trains in the dark. I'll think about it. I need to order it today for Friday delivery. 3 exclamation points, like urgency justified the expense. I put the phone face down on the counter, drank my coffee, watched early morning Seattle wake up through the diner window, bus drivers starting routes, delivery trucks making rounds, people heading to jobs that mattered. Did mine matter? I kept trains running, kept people safe, made sure the city moved, but at home, I was just a wallet with legs. Betty refilled my cup again. You want some eggs? You look like you need something solid. Sure, thanks. She patted my shoulder as she walked away. That small kindness from a stranger felt heavier than any gratitude I'd gotten at home in months. I texted Mina back, order the dress. Her response? Thanks. 1 word, 1 exclamation point. Not thanks, Dad. Not, I appreciate it. Just acknowledgement that the ATM had dispensed the required funds. I paid for my breakfast, left Betty a tip that was probably too large, and drove home as the sun climbed over the Cascades. The house looked peaceful from outside. 2-story craftsman style, blue-gray with white trim. I'd repainted it 2 summers ago, fixed the porch railing, replaced the water heater, maintained it like I maintained everything, carefully, consistently, without complaint. Inside was chaos. The living room looked like a bomb had gone off, pizza boxes on the coffee table, shoes scattered everywhere, someone's jacket draped over the TV. The stain on my chair had gotten worse somehow. Jared was sprawled on the couch, 1 leg dangling off, mouth open, snoring loudly enough to shake the walls. 21 years old, and he slept like he'd won every battle. I walked past him to the kitchen. Dishes piled in the sink, empty energy drink cans on the counter, the trash overflowing because no one had bothered to take it out. I'd taken it out Sunday. It was Wednesday. Miranda emerged from the bedroom, hair in a messy bun, wearing the robe I'd bought her for Christmas. She looked tired. We all looked tired. You're home early, she said. Shift ended at 6. I meant, you usually go somewhere after work. Didn't feel like it today. She glanced at the living room. I know it's messy. Jared had friends over. I'll clean it up later. When? Colten? When, Miranda? When will you clean it up? When will he clean it up? He's 21, not 12. He's stressed. Midterms are coming. I had midterms too. I also had a job, and I didn't trash other people's homes. Her face hardened. Here we go again? The I did it, so everyone else should too speech? That's not what You're so hard on them. They're good kids. Good kids, right. Good kids who treated me like furniture, who used my money without gratitude, my home without respect, my time without consideration. I sent Jared $800 this morning, I said quietly. For books. I know, thank you. Did he say thank you? Miranda blinked. What? Did Jared thank me? Did Mina thank me for the dress she's ordering? They're your children, Colten. Parents don't need thank yous for doing their job. And there it was, the line that had worn a groove in my brain over the years. Your job? As if raising someone else's children was an obligation I'd signed up for without question, as if love and gratitude were mutually exclusive, as if I should be grateful for the privilege of funding their lives. Right, I said. My job. I walked past her, down the hall, into the bedroom, closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed and stared at nothing. 15 years? I'd been doing this for 15 years. Jared had been 6 when I married Miranda. Mina had been 4, small kids with big eyes and uncertain smiles. Their biological father, Randall, had already checked out, moved 3 hours away, sent occasional money but never visits, eventually stopped even that. I'd stepped in, gladly. I'd read bedtime stories and packed lunches and attended parent-teacher conferences. I'd coached Jared's little league team. I'd taught Mina to ride a bike. I'd been there for scraped knees and bad dreams and first days of school. I'd been their father in every way that mattered, except legally. Miranda had never let me adopt them, said it was complicated with Randall, said the kids might want to choose when they were older. They'd never chosen me. And now, at 21 and 19, they'd made it clear I was never really theirs. My phone buzzed. Text from Dean Clark. Not the dean from work. This was Dean Clark, administrator at Jared's University. Mr. Rivers, we need to discuss some concerns regarding Jared Wells. Can you call at your earliest convenience? My stomach dropped. I called immediately. Mr. Rivers, thank you for getting back to me so quickly. What's wrong? Jared has accumulated over $2,000 in unpaid library fines and facility fees. We've sent multiple notices to the address on file, but haven't received payment. $2,000, on top of everything else. What kind of fines? Primarily damaged and unreturned materials. Also some conduct violations that carried monetary penalties. Conduct violations? Dean Clark's voice got careful. It would be better to discuss this in person. Are you available this afternoon? I closed my eyes. I just got off a night shift. I'm exhausted. I understand. However, if these matters aren't resolved by the end of this week, Jared's registration for next quarter will be blocked. Of course it would. I'll be there at 2, I said. Thank you, Mr. Rivers. I hung up, sat there, felt something cold and hard forming in my chest. The bedroom door opened. Miranda. Who was that? Jared's school. Is everything okay? No, everything is not okay. I told her about the fines, the conduct violations, the blocked registration. Her face cycled through surprise, concern, and then, predictably, defensiveness. Why didn't they tell us sooner? They sent notices. Well, we didn't get them. They sent them to the address on file. Our address. Miranda's jaw tightened. What does that mean? It means Jared probably intercepted them. You don't know that, don't I? We stared at each other. 15 years of marriage, and I could see her choosing, right there, in real time, to defend him instead of facing the truth. I'll talk to him, she said finally. When? He's unconscious on the couch. When he wakes up? And then what? We pay another $2,000? On top of tuition, books, rent, food, clothes, everything else? What do you want me to say, Colten? That we shouldn't support our children? Our children. Not your stepchildren, not my kids. Our children. Except when it came to discipline or accountability. Then they were college kids being college kids, and I was being too hard on them. I want, I said slowly, for them to understand that money doesn't grow on trees, that actions have consequences, that respect is a two-way street. They do respect you. Do they? Miranda looked away. I stood up, grabbed my jacket, headed for the door. Where are you going? To pay for my stepson's mistakes. Again. I walked past Jared, still snoring, still sprawled like he owned the place, past the mess he'd created, past the life I'd built that everyone else took for granted. And I thought, something has to change. I just didn't know yet what that something would be, or how much it would cost everyone involved. The university administration building smelled like floor polish and stress. I'd been here plenty of times, orientation, parent weekends, financial aid meetings, but always as the guy writing checks, never as someone being summoned. Dean Clark's office was on the 3rd floor. His secretary told me to wait. The chair was too small, the walls covered in motivational posters about potential and challenges. Jared had definitely embraced challenges, just not academic ones. Mr. Rivers? Dean Clark appeared, looking worn down in the way only someone dealing with entitled students could. Inside his tidy office, he opened a thick folder. Jared has had several incidents this semester. The library fines are for damaged rental textbooks. Water damage, torn pages, 5 books, nearly $1,000. Of course, even free resources were abused. And the conduct violations? I asked. His expression tightened. 3 noise complaints. 1 incident involving providing alcohol to a 17-year-old during a preview weekend. My stomach clenched. He gave drinks to a minor? Yes. He received a warning and a fine. $800, I said, already knowing the answer. The same amount I'd sent him that morning for books. I sat back, feeling my last 15 years with Jared reorganizing themselves. Every excuse, every emergency, every unexpected bill. How many lies had I paid for? There's more, Dean Clark said. Parking in handicap spots, skipped conduct courses, multiple complaints from professors, plagiarism concerns. I breathed through the anger. The total due is $2,347. If not paid by Friday, his registration is blocked and he goes on probation. And if I don't pay, Dean Clark blinked. He would need another source, a payment plan, perhaps his other parent. His other parent hasn't paid a cent in 3 years. Understanding crossed his face. I know you're frustrated, but Jared has potential. Sometimes students need a wake-up call, not abandonment. I'm not abandoning him. I'm questioning whether funding this behavior is helping. That's reasonable, he said gently. We've had conversations, I told him. They don't stick. He nodded. What would you like to do? I thought of my father working doubles. of Betty's kindness, of Jared sleeping on my couch while I paid for his mistakes. "I'll pay one last time," I said. "After this, he's on his own." Dean Clark gave me the payment info. I transferred the money, watching my savings shrink again. "You're not a bad parent for setting boundaries," he said as I left. "Sometimes consequences are the best teacher." Parent. Too bad my stepchildren didn't see me that way. I drove home in silence, the noise of Seattle traffic drowning out everything except my own thoughts. When I got home, Jared was awake, sitting at the kitchen table with a bowl of cereal, scrolling his phone, looking completely unbothered by the world. Miranda was at work. Mina was at class. It was just him and me. "Hey," he said without looking up. "Did you send that book money?" I stood in the doorway, watched him eat cereal I'd bought in a house I paid for, completely oblivious. "I met with Dean Clark today," I said. His hand paused halfway to his mouth. "Who?" "Dean Clark, at your university. He wanted to discuss your unpaid fines." Jared put his spoon down. "Oh, yeah, that's handled." "Handled? I was going to take care of it." "With what money?" I was working it out. "You were working it out by lying to me about needing $800 for books?" His face flushed. "I do need books. And you needed to pay for giving drinks to a minor, and for parking in handicap spots, and for destroying rental textbooks. It's not that big of a deal." $2,300, Jared. That's a big deal." He stood up. At 21, he was taller than me by 3 inches, broader in the shoulders. He'd played football in high school until he quit because practice was too much work. "You're always making everything into a huge drama," he said. "It's just college. Stuff happens." "Stuff happens? That's your explanation?" "What do you want me to say? Sorry? Fine. Sorry." But he wasn't. I could see it in his face. The complete lack of understanding that what he'd done was wrong. The assumption that I'd fix it, like I always did. "I paid it," I said. "This time." "Okay, thanks. This is the last time." He rolled his eyes. "Sure it is." "I'm serious, Jared." "You always say that. Then you pay anyway." "Maybe that's been the problem." "What's that supposed to mean?" I looked at him. This young man I'd raised, who I'd taught to throw a football, who I'd driven to practices and games, who I'd helped with homework and college applications, who now looked at me like I was an inconvenience. "It means," I said slowly, "that I've been enabling you instead of raising you." "Oh, here we go. The lecture." "Not a lecture. An observation." "Whatever." He picked up his phone. "Are we done?" "Yes." "We're done." He walked past me, shoulder brushing mine, not quite aggressive, but not respectful either. A statement. A reminder that he was bigger, younger, and didn't need to care what I thought. I heard his bedroom door close upstairs, stood in the kitchen alone, looked at the mess he'd left, the bowl of cereal on the table, the cabinet door hanging open, the refrigerator not quite closed, small things, thoughtless things, the accumulation of 15 years of small, thoughtless things. My phone buzzed. Text from Mina. "The dress came. It's perfect. Can I also get shoes? There's a pair that would be amazing with it." I stared at the message, didn't respond. Put my phone in my pocket and walked outside. The afternoon was cold, typical Seattle gray. I sat on the porch steps and watched cars go by, watched neighbors come and go, watched life happen around me while I tried to figure out when I'd become invisible in my own home. Mrs. Patterson from next door walked by with her dog. She waved. I waved back. "How's the family?" she called out. "Good," I lied. "Everyone's good." She smiled and continued on. The dog, some kind of terrier, pulled at the leash, eager to explore, happy to exist in the moment. I envied that dog. My phone buzzed again. Miranda. "Jared called me upset. What happened?" I typed. "Ask him." "He said you yelled at him about college stuff." "I didn't yell. He's very upset." "He should be." 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. "Can we talk about this tonight?" Calmly. "Sure." But I knew how it would go. She'd defend him. I'd be the bad guy. Nothing would change. Except this time, something in me had shifted. Dean Clark's words kept echoing. Sometimes the best thing we can do is let them face consequences. I stood up, went inside, walked to the small office we'd converted from a spare bedroom. My space, the one place that was actually mine, opened my laptop, logged into my banking app, looked at all the automatic payments, tuition, rent for Jared's apartment, Mina's student account, the car insurance, the cell phone bill, the streaming services, the credit card I'd given them for emergencies that got used for everything but line after line of my money going to support their lives. I sat back, stared at the screen, thought about what would happen if I just stopped, if I let them stand on their own, if I gave them what they kept implying they wanted, independence. My finger hovered over the cancel button for Jared's tuition payment. Not yet, something whispered. Not yet, but soon, because I was tired of being used, tired of being taken for granted, tired of being treated like an ATM instead of a human being, tired of being told, in words and actions, that I didn't matter. I closed the laptop, went to the bedroom, set my alarm for midnight. I had another night shift. And down in those tunnels, at least the machines appreciated when I fixed them. The house was quiet when I woke for my midnight shift. Miranda slept. Jared's light was on. Gaming, most likely. Mina had texted earlier that she was staying at Emma's. I dressed in the dark and left without a goodbye. The metro station was nearly empty. Just the night crew preparing for the maintenance window. 4 hours of inspections, tests, and repairs. Simple, predictable work, with no emotional chaos. "You look better," Dean Martinez said. "Get some sleep?" "Enough. That thing with your kid work out?" I thought of Jared's eye roll, the excuses, the total lack of responsibility. "It's handled," I said. We worked in silence, checking brake systems. The routine gave my mind room to wander, to that folder in Dean Clark's office. All the violations, all the lies. How long had this been happening? How much had I ignored because I was busy keeping this family afloat? "Hey, Rivers," Thomas called from Unit 23. "Your kid still looking for summer work? My nephew's hiring at that outdoor store downtown." Summer work. Right. As if Jared would sacrifice his summer fun for a real job while I funded everything. "I'll let him know," I said. But the question lingered. When had Jared last worked? A short-lived job in high school he quit because the manager was unfair. Mina had never worked at all. Every attempt ended in excuses, and I'd let it all slide, while I pulled doubles to pay for their lives. My phone buzzed, text from Miranda. "Are you still upset about earlier?" I typed. "Just tired? We should talk when you get home. Clear the air." "Sure." But I didn't want to talk. Talking meant listening to justifications, explanations for why their behavior was understandable, why I was overreacting, why I needed to be more patient. I'd been patient for 15 years. The shift ended at 4 a.m. I stayed late to finish paperwork, then sat in my truck in the empty parking lot as dawn broke over the city. What was I doing? Working myself into the ground to support people who didn't appreciate it, sacrificing my sleep, my health, my peace of mind. For what? To be called not their real parent when it mattered? I drove to the same diner. Betty was there, starting her morning shift. "Back again?" she said, pouring coffee without asking. "You practically live here." "Better than my alternatives." She studied my face. "Family troubles?" "Is it that obvious?" "Honey, I've served coffee to troubled people for 30 years. You've got the look." "Kids?" "Stepkids. Grown. Entitled. Expensive." Betty leaned against the counter. "Let me guess. You raised them, paid for everything, did all the hard work. Now they treat you like furniture." "Something like that." "And their mom?" "Defends them. Always." Betty nodded like she'd heard this story 1,000 times. Maybe she had. "You know what I learned raising 3 kids on a waitress salary?" she said. "Love isn't enough. They need to respect you too. And respect comes from boundaries." "I've tried setting boundaries." "Have you? Or have you set them and then backed down when things got uncomfortable?" I didn't answer. Didn't need to. "Thought so." She refilled my cup. "Boundaries mean nothing if you don't enforce them. And enforcement hurts. It's supposed to. That's how people learn. They're adults now. Then they're old enough to stand on their own feet." Simple wisdom from a woman who'd probably struggled far more than I ever had, raising kids alone, without the financial safety net I provided. And her kids likely respected her more than mine ever respected me. I paid for my coffee, left a generous tip, and drove home as the city woke up. From the outside, the house looked peaceful. Inside, it was chaos. Jared and Mina were in the kitchen shouting. Miranda sat at the table with her head in her hands. "What's going on?" I asked. Mina said Jared ate her labeled food. Jared shrugged and said it was just food. Then came the line that exposed everything. Dad pays for everything. So casual, so entitled. They kept arguing until I raised my voice, loudly. The room went silent. all three staring at me like I'd broken protocol. If you can afford special groceries, I told Mina, you can afford to contribute to the household. What? She gasped. If you have money for that, you have money for rent. I'm a student. So was I. I still paid rent. Jared jumped in, outraged. You can't just charge us rent. Why not? Because you're our. He stopped. He couldn't finish. Our what? I asked. You're our father, Mina said, but it sounded forced, performative. Am I? Yesterday I was never your real parent. You don't get it both ways. Either I'm your parent and you treat me with respect, or I step back and you handle your own finances. Colten, stop, Miranda warned. You're being unfair. No, I said. I'm being honest. I told them the kitchen better be clean by the time I woke up, and that we were having a real conversation later. I walked to the bedroom, heart pounding like I'd been in an actual fight. In a way, I had been. 15 years of fighting to be seen, valued, treated like more than infrastructure. I opened my banking app again, staring at the endless auto payments. Betty's words echoed. Boundaries mean nothing if you don't enforce them. I didn't act on anything yet, but I started making a list. Everything I paid for, everything I provided, every expense propping up this family. 2 pages long. When I finished, I saved it, locked my phone, and lay in the dark thinking about one thing. What would happen if I simply stopped? If I gave them exactly what they claimed to want? Independence. I woke at 2 in the afternoon. The house was quiet. Miranda at work, the kids at school. The kitchen was still a mess. Of course it was. I stood in the doorway, staring at the dishes, the containers, the chaos that came from 2 adults who respected nothing they didn't pay for. Something cold settled in me. I opened my banking app and scrolled through the scheduled payments. Jared's rent, $950. Mina's housing, $1,200. Their car insurance, $340. Cell phones, $160. Jared's tuition, $4,800 per quarter. Mina's tuition, $5,200 per quarter, plus groceries, utilities, streaming, credit cards, over $7,000 per month. Another $15,000 every quarter. More than $100,000 a year. For 2 adults who couldn't clean a kitchen. My finger hovered over cancel on Jared's rent when Miranda called. She tried to smooth things over. I only said, the kitchen's still a mess. She promised, again, to talk to them. I reminded her she said the same thing yesterday. She accused me of being angry and confrontational. Maybe I should have been years ago. I told her plainly, I'm tired of being taken for granted. She insisted no one was, but she couldn't give me a single example of either kid ever showing appreciation. I hung up. She called back. I didn't answer. Instead, I researched the cost of living. Rent, insurance, phone bills, tuition. Every number proved the same point. I was funding lifestyles they couldn't maintain without me. Jared texted, Mom said you're upset? We need to talk. Family meeting at 7. He complained. I told him to cancel his plans. Mina argued too. I shut that down as well. I cleaned the kitchen myself. Not for them, but because I couldn't stand the mess. Miranda came home at 6:30. Shocked the meeting was actually happening. Tried to talk privately. I told her nothing ever changes because everyone treats this like normal family stuff. She fired back. I told her the truth. I'm their stepfather, not their ATM. Her face went pale. At 7, Jared and Mina arrived, annoyed, dismissive, inconvenienced. Sit up, I told Jared when he slouched. He smirked but obeyed. Mina flopped onto the floor, already impatient. I looked at them, my wife and her 2 nearly grown children, every one of them waiting for me to be the villain in the story. I went to Jared's school yesterday, I said. Met with the dean. Jared's smirk vanished. I laid out the conduct violations, the fines, the lies. Another $2,000 gone. Miranda quietly confronted him. He twisted his words. I cut him off. Then I opened the list on my phone. I read the numbers. Jared's tuition, $4,400. Mina's tuition, $15,600. Jared's rent, $11,400. Mina's housing, $14,400 insurance, $4,080. Phones, $119.20. Miscellaneous, $15,000. Total, I said into the silent room, about $77,000 a year, not counting this house. Silence in the room. That's what being your father costs, I said, financially. We never asked you to pay for all that, Mina said. No, you just assumed I would. And I did, because I love you, because I've been raising you since you were small, because I thought that's what family meant. It is what family means, Miranda said. Is it? because family also means respect, gratitude, consideration, and I get none of that. That's not true, Jared said, but his voice lacked conviction. When's the last time either of you thanked me for anything? They looked at each other, at their mother, at the floor. I thank you, Mina said weakly. When? When you asked for the $300 dress. You said thanks, with an exclamation point. That's it? What do you want? A parade? I want acknowledgement that I matter, that I'm not just a wallet with legs. Nobody thinks that, Miranda said. Don't they? I looked at Jared. Yesterday you said I always pay anyway, remember? Like it's a given, like you're entitled to my money. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? He couldn't answer. I looked at Mina. And you? You have money for special groceries but can't contribute to the household? I'm a student. I was a student. I worked full-time and paid rent. You're 19, not a child. This is insane, she said, standing up. You're acting like we're some kind of burden. You're not a burden, but you're also not my responsibility anymore. The room froze. What does that mean? Miranda said slowly. It means I'm done. Done with what? Done being an ATM. Done being taken for granted. Done funding adult lifestyles for people who treat me like I'm invisible. You're not invisible, Jared said. Stop being dramatic. Then tell me, Jared. Tell me one thing you appreciate about me. He blinked, opened his mouth, closed it. One thing, I repeated. Anything. You're always there? Always there, like furniture. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? Because yesterday, both of you made it very clear that I'm not your real parent. So, which is it? Am I your father, deserving of respect? Or am I just the guy who pays for things? You're being unfair, Miranda said, putting them on the spot like this. I'm asking a simple question. A loaded question. Only loaded because they can't answer it. Mina stood up. I'm not doing this. You want to have some midlife crisis and make us feel guilty? Fine. But I'm not sitting here getting interrogated. She headed for the door. Where are you going? Miranda called. Emma's place, where people don't treat me like a criminal. She slammed the door behind her. Jared stood too. This is messed up. You're messed up. Jared, Miranda said, stay. Why? So he can keep making us feel like trash? I'm not trying to make you feel like trash, I said quietly. I'm trying to make you understand that actions have consequences. Whatever, man. I'm out. He left too, more door slamming. I sat there with Miranda in the sudden quiet. Are you happy now? She said. You drove them both away. They drove themselves away. By being normal college kids? By being disrespectful, entitled, and ungrateful. They're not ungrateful. Miranda, be honest. When's the last time either of them did anything to show appreciation? Anything at all? She started to answer. Stopped. Tried again. They're young. They don't think about those things yet. They're 21 and 19. Old enough to vote, drive, make life decisions. Old enough to say thank you. So what? You're going to punish them for not meeting your emotional needs? I'm going to stop enabling them. There's a difference. What does that mean? I pulled out my phone, opened the banking app, showed her the screen full of automatic payments. It means I'm canceling these. Her face went white. You can't do that. Yes, I can. Colten, that's their rent, their tuition, their insurance. You'd cut them off completely? Not completely. They're adults. They can figure it out. Figure it out how? With what money? With jobs, student loans, their real father's money. Randall doesn't have money. Not my problem. Miranda stood up. You would actually do this? You'd let them fail? I'd let them stand on their own feet. They'll lose everything, their apartments, their schooling, everything. Or they'll learn to be responsible. You're punishing them for being young. I'm holding them accountable for being adults. We stared at each other. 15 years of marriage reduced to this moment. Her protecting her children from consequences, me trying to teach consequences mattered. If you do this, she said slowly, I'll never forgive you. You'll forgive me. You just won't like me for a while. Colten? I'm tired, Miranda. Tired of working doubles. Tired of being disrespected. Tired of sacrificing everything and getting nothing back. You get a family. Do I? Because it doesn't feel like family when your kids can't even acknowledge I exist. They do acknowledge you. No. They acknowledge my wallet. There's a difference. I stood up, headed for the bedroom. Where are you going? To get my things. What? I'm staying at the Metro break room for a while. You're leaving? I'm taking space. To think. About what? I turned back to her. This woman I'd loved for 15 years, who'd given me a family, even if that family never quite accepted me. About whether this is sustainable, I said. About whether I want to keep living like this. Like what? Like I don't matter. I packed a bag, heard her crying in the living room, felt a twinge of guilt. But guilt wasn't enough to change my mind. I walked out of the house at 8:30 p.m., got in my truck, drove to the metro station. Dean Martinez was starting his shift, saw me with my bag. Staying over? He asked. For a while. He didn't ask questions, just nodded. Couch is yours. I threw my bag on the break room couch, sat down, pulled out my phone, looked at the banking app one more time, all those payments, all that money, all those years of providing without appreciation. My finger hovered over cancel. Not yet, I thought. Give them one more chance. But I knew the chance wouldn't matter. Because nothing ever changed unless you forced change. And I was finally ready to force it. 3 days passed in the metro tunnels. 3 days of night shifts, break room coffee, and silence. Miranda called 17 times. I answered twice. Both conversations were circular. Her begging me to come home, me explaining I needed space, her accusing me of abandoning the family. Jared texted once, "This is childish." I didn't respond. Mina sent a long message about how I was emotionally manipulating everyone, how I was using money as a weapon. Over nothing. Dean Martinez didn't ask questions, but he watched me carefully. Brought me food from his wife's kitchen. On the third night, he sat beside me during break. My dad left when I was 8. Just walked out, he said. I looked up from my coffee. My mom told me something when I was older. She said he stayed 7 years longer than he wanted because he didn't want to abandon his kids. But caring was destroying him. Did she forgive him? Eventually, after she realized she'd been taking him for granted. I nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak. On the 4th morning, Dean Clark called. Mr. Rivers, Jared's payment for next quarter is due in 2 days. If it's not received, he'll be dropped from his classes. I'm aware. Pause. And will you be making the payment? I thought about Jared's smirk, his eye roll, the 15 years of excuses and entitlement. No, I said. I won't. I see. Mr. Rivers, I want to make sure you understand. I understand perfectly. My stepson needs to learn that actions have consequences. This is a significant consequence. Good, maybe it'll finally stick. I hung up, felt my hands shaking. My phone buzzed. Text from Miranda. Dean Clark just called. He said you're not paying Jared's tuition. That's right. Colten, please, don't do this. I already did. He'll lose everything. Or he'll figure out how to pay for it himself. With what money? Get a job, take out loans, ask his real father. 3 dots appeared, disappeared. You're being cruel. I'm being consistent. I walked to the diner. Betty was there. You look like you haven't slept in days, she said, pouring coffee. I haven't. Did you set those boundaries we talked about? Set them, enforce them. Now everyone's angry. Good. I looked up. Good? Honey, when you set real boundaries, people get angry. They like the old arrangement. Of course they're upset it's changing. My wife says I'm being cruel. You can't keep setting yourself on fire to keep other people warm. I cut off my stepson's tuition, I said. Betty nodded. How's that feel? Terrifying. Good. Because if it didn't scare you, it'd mean you didn't care. The fact that you're scared means you still love him. You're just not willing to destroy yourself for him anymore. My phone rang. Randall Wells. I answered. Randall. Colten. We need to talk about you cutting off my kids. Your kids. Interesting that you call them that now. Miranda said you're refusing to pay for college. That's accurate. You can't do that. Actually, I can. They're your children, not mine. You've been raising them for 15 years, and now you can raise them for a while. Welcome to parenthood. I don't have that kind of money. Then they'll need to figure something out. Where have you been, Randall? Where have you been for 15 years while I fed your kids, clothed them, paid for their education? I've been nowhere. And now that I'm stepping back, suddenly you're concerned? They're going to lose everything. Then be their father. Actually be their father for once. I can't afford. Neither can I anymore. Welcome to the reality I've been living. I hung up. My hands were shaking again. I'd done it. Actually done it. Cut the cord. My phone started buzzing nonstop. Jared, you're seriously doing this? You're actually cutting me off? Mina, I just got an email saying my housing payment bounced. What did you do? Miranda, please call me. We need to fix this. I turned off my phone. Dean Martinez found me in the maintenance bay. You okay? I cut them off. Tuition, rent, insurance, everything. How do you feel? Guilty, terrified, relieved, angry, sad. All at once? All at once. He sat beside me. You did the right thing. Did I? Yeah, you did. 2 days later, the fallout began. Jared was officially dropped from his classes. Mina's housing payment bounced. Both car insurance policies lapsed. Cell phones suspended. Then came the call from Jared. Late at night. Angry. You're really going to let me lose my education? It's not about thank yous, it's about respect. This isn't about respect. This is about you having some weird power trip. If you think setting boundaries is a power trip, you need to grow up. I'm trying to get an education. Then get one. Take out loans, get a job, ask your father for help. My father doesn't have money. Neither do I anymore. When's the last time you asked me how I was doing? When's the last time you showed any interest in my life beyond what I could pay for? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Fine, but don't come crawling back when you realize you destroyed your family over nothing. I didn't destroy anything, Jared. I just stopped fixing what you all kept breaking. I hung up. For the first time in 15 years, I felt like I could breathe. 1 week into the cutoff, and the phone calls multiplied. Miranda called every day, cycling through anger, pleading, bargaining, fury. They're going to have to move back home, both of them, because you decided to be petty. I decided to stop enabling. Colten, I can't support them on my salary alone. Then they'll need to get jobs. They're students? Lots of students work. I did. You're being impossible, Randall called twice more, each time more desperate. Miranda's threatening to sue me for back child support, because of you. They're adults, Randall. Child support ended at 18. She's talking about legal fees, emotional distress. Sounds like you should talk to a lawyer. I can't afford a lawyer. Welcome to my world. But the call that surprised me came from Mina, crying. I had to drop out. I can't afford to stay. My chest tightened. Mina, I have to move home. I'm losing everything because you decided to punish us. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm setting boundaries. You destroyed my education over boundaries? No. You destroyed your education by taking it for granted. I never took it for granted. When's the last time you acknowledged how hard I worked to pay for it? I shouldn't have to constantly thank you for being a parent. I'm not your parent, Mina. Remember? You're not our real parent. Your exact words. Silence. More crying. I didn't mean it. I was angry. You meant it. And that's fine. But if I'm not your parent, then I'm not responsible for funding your adult life. So you're just abandoning us? I'm letting you stand on your own. I can't stand on my own. I'm 19. You're old enough to vote, old enough to sign contracts, old enough to take responsibility. I hate you. The words hit hard. You're allowed to hate me, but that doesn't change anything. She hung up. Dean Martinez found me later. Rough day? Rough week. Second thoughts? Constant second thoughts? That's normal. Means you're human. My phone buzzed. Text from Miranda. Mina's moving back home this weekend. Jared, too. They both had to withdraw from school. I hope you're happy. I wasn't happy. I felt sick. But I typed back, they can figure out their next steps from there. You've ruined their lives. I've changed their circumstances. They'll ruin or build their lives based on what they do next. The week dragged on. On Saturday, I drove by the house, saw a moving truck, Jared carrying boxes, Mina arguing with Miranda on the lawn. I kept driving. That night, Betty found me at the diner. You look like you're falling apart. Maybe I am. Because of the kids? They're moving back home, dropped out of school. Because you stopped paying? Yes. And if you'd kept paying? They'd still be in school. Still taking you for granted? Yes. So what changed? Their circumstances or their character? Circumstances? Exactly. The problem wasn't about money. It was about respect. My phone buzzed. Dean Clark. Mr. Rivers, Jared came by to officially withdraw. He asked if there was any way to work out a payment plan. He asked if I thought he could work full-time and go to school part-time. What did you tell him? I told him thousands of students do it every year. It's hard, but possible. Something loosened in my chest. Thank you for calling. Some spiral, some thrive. The difference is usually whether they blame everyone else or take responsibility. I sat in the diner until midnight, about whether pain was always bad or sometimes necessary. And when I woke up the next day, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. I'd been living for everyone else. Now I was living for myself. 2 weeks after the cutoff, Miranda showed up at the metro station. Colten, can we talk? Dean Martinez gave me a look. I nodded. He disappeared. What are you doing here? You won't answer my calls. We've said everything that needs saying. The kids are miserable. Good. She flinched. Good? They're your children. They made that clear? Because they were angry. Did they not mean it? Or did they just not mean for there to be consequences? They've learned their lesson. Both are looking for jobs. Jared talked to a military recruiter. That stopped me. Military? Army Reserve, tuition assistance program. That's good. That's actually good for him. He's talking about enlisting because you cut him off. He's talking about enlisting because he needs to pay for school. That's called being an adult. I don't know you anymore. Maybe you never did. What's that supposed to mean? It means you've always seen me as a provider, but never as a person with limits. When's the last time you asked how I was doing? She opened her mouth, closed it. Right. So this is about me now? It's about all of you, about a family dynamic where I give everything and everyone else takes. I can't do this anymore. The house is chaos. I'm exhausted. Then set boundaries. With what leverage? It's your house, your rules. You're being cruel. I'm being consistent. When did you become so cold? When staying warm meant burning myself alive. Her eyes filled with tears. I miss you. You miss having help. There's a difference. She walked away. That night Jared called. Can we meet? Just talk. Why? Because I want to talk. That diner you go to. Tomorrow morning. 7 a.m. I'll be there. The next morning, Jared walked in looking different. Thinner, tired, no swagger. He slid into the booth. I talked to a recruiter yesterday. Army Reserve? Dean Clark mentioned. I don't know if I can do it, because it's hard. So? So I've never done anything that hard. There it was. Then maybe it's time you did. Mom says I should keep looking for other options. What do you want? I'm scared of failing. Jared, you've been coasting your whole life. Everything came easy, so you never learned how to push through hard things. Are you saying I'm weak? I'm saying you're untested. Do you think I can do it? Yes, if you want to. I want to finish school. I want to not feel like a complete failure. Then do it. What if I can't? Then you'll fail and learn something from failing. He looked at me, really looked at me. Why did you cut us off? Really? Because I was teaching you that you could treat me however you wanted and I'd still provide. That's not love. That's enabling. I didn't realize how much you did, how hard you worked. No, you didn't, because I made it look easy. And that was my mistake. So this is your fault? Partly. I should have set boundaries years ago. But you're adults now, and it's your fault for not appreciating what you had. Silence. I'm sorry, Jared said finally. 2 words I'd waited years to hear. Thank you. Does this mean you'll help with school? No. His face fell. But I apologized, and I appreciate that. But an apology doesn't change the issue. You need to learn to support yourself. He nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? Did you ever actually want to raise us? The question caught me off guard. I wanted to raise you, both of you. I saw 2 kids who needed a father. Even though we weren't yours, you were mine, not biologically, but in every way that mattered. Were? Are. You are mine. But that doesn't mean I'm obligated to fund your entire adult life. Jared stood up. I'm going to do it. The Army thing. Good. Will you come to my graduation from basic training? If you invite me, I'll be there. Okay. He left. Something had shifted. 3 weeks into my exile, I got an email from Mina. Subject, fine, you win. I got a job, retail, minimum wage. I start Monday, I'm paying mom rent. Are you happy now? I typed back, I'm proud of you. She didn't respond. Jared signed his enlistment papers the following week. Miranda called, crying. He's leaving for basic training in January, because of you. Because of him. He made that choice. But that afternoon, Jared texted, ship date is Jan 15. Basic training at Fort Jackson. 8 weeks. Just wanted you to know. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Dad. Dad. I stared at that word for 10 minutes. Dean Clark called. Jared came in to discuss re-enrollment options for fall semester. He seems motivated. I think so too. What you did was hard, but it was right. I sat on the break room couch and cried for the first time in weeks. Relief crying, because maybe I hadn't destroyed everything. That night, I drove by the house, saw lights on. My phone rang. Miranda. Can you come over? Please. We need to talk. All of us. The kids asked for you. Both of them. Both of them. I turned around, walked up the steps, knocked on my own door. Miranda opened it. She'd been crying. Thank you for coming. I walked in. Jared and Mina were sitting in the living room. They both stood. Hey, Jared said. Hi, Mina said. You wanted to talk? Jared looked at Mina. She nodded. We've been talking about everything, and we realized some things. Okay. We were horrible to you, Mina said. For a long time, Jared added. We took you for granted. Everything you did. We just assumed it would always be there. We're sorry, they said together. I stood there, felt the weight of those words, but also felt the skepticism. Thank you, I appreciate that. But my question is, will you still be sorry when things get easier? They didn't answer immediately. I got a job, Mina said. I'm joining the Army Reserve, Jared said. We're paying Mom rent, both of us. That's good. And we're trying. To be better. I'm glad, but it doesn't change what I said before. About not helping us? Mina asked. About you standing on your own feet? We are figuring it out, Jared said. Good. Keep figuring it out. But does that mean you're never coming home? The question hung in the air. I don't know, I said honestly. What would it take? Miranda asked. Real change. Not performative change, but actual lasting change. How do we prove that? Time, consistency, actions over words. How much time? As long as it takes. Mina looked frustrated. That's not fair. Life's not fair, Mina. You're learning that now. So you're just going to live at the metro station forever? Until I see a reason to come home. Miranda stood up. Colten, please, we're all trying. I know, and I'm glad, but I'm not coming home just because you want me to. When will that be? I don't know. Silence. Finally, Jared spoke. Can we at least talk? Sometimes? Yes. Even if it's not about problems? Mina asked. Yes. Something in the room softened slightly. Okay, Miranda said. That's something. I nodded, turned to leave. Colten, Jared said. I stopped. Thank you for cutting us off. I needed it. I looked at him. You're welcome, I said. Then I walked out, got in my truck, drove back to the metro station. But this time, the break room couch felt less like refuge and more like temporary shelter, because something had changed. Not everything, not enough, but something. And maybe, eventually, something would become enough. 4 weeks after cutting them off, I started sleeping better. The constant anxiety faded. I still worked my shifts, still lived on the break room couch. But I'd started looking at apartments. My phone buzzed. Text from Jared. Had my physical today. Recruiter says I'm good to go. Feeling nervous and excited. I texted back, that's the right feeling, means you care. Did you feel that way when you were young? Always, still do. How do you deal with it? By remembering scared and unprepared aren't the same thing. Thanks, Dad. There it was again. Dad. Another text from Mina. My manager said I'm doing really well, asked if I want more hours. That's great. Are you taking them? Yeah. Need the money, but also, it feels good, being responsible. I'm proud of you. Thanks. I'm proud of me too. I smiled. Maybe it was working. That night, Miranda called. Can we talk? Just you and me? Not at the house, somewhere neutral. We met at a coffee shop. I've been seeing a therapist, she said. That surprised me. Since when? 3 weeks. I needed perspective. And? She said I made you the bad guy so I could be the good guy. that I let you set limits while I provided comfort, so the kids learned to see you as the punisher and me as the rescuer. That's accurate. I know, I'm sorry. Thank you. She also said I need to set my own boundaries. With the kids? Have you? I'm trying. It's hard. Everything worth doing is hard, she smiled sadly. When did you get so wise? I've always been this wise. You just didn't listen. We drank our coffee in silence. Do you think we can fix this? She asked. I don't know. I think we can build something new, but I don't think we can go back. I don't want to go back. Back was broken. Yeah, it was. So what do? We keep doing what we're doing. Eventually, maybe, we figure out what a healthy version of this family looks like. How long will that take? As long as it takes. She nodded. I miss you. I miss you too, but I don't miss the version of me that lived in that house. I didn't see it. I know, that was part of the problem. We finished our coffee, walked out together. Can I hug you? She asked. Yeah, we hugged. I love you, she said. I love you too, but love isn't enough. We both know that now. She drove away. I walked back to the metro station. The next morning, I looked at apartments online, found a one-bedroom place near the station. I scheduled a viewing for the weekend. Dean Martinez saw me looking. Moving out for real? Yeah, I think so. Good for you, man. The weekend came. I viewed the apartment, signed the lease. Move-in date, 2 weeks. I texted Miranda. I got an apartment, officially. She didn't respond right away. When she did, I understand. Jared texted, Does this mean you're not coming back? It means I'm not coming back to how things were. We'll figure out what comes next. Okay, still want you at my graduation, Fort Jackson, March 15th. I'll be there. Mina texted too. Are you leaving because of us? I'm leaving because I need space to figure out who I am outside of being your provider. Will we still see you? If you want to. I do. Then yes. Those conversations felt surreal. My family fractured and rearranging itself. It wasn't comfortable, but it was honest. On moving day, Dean and Thomas helped me move my belongings. I didn't have much. The apartment looked empty with just my stuff. But it felt clean, clear, mine. That first night alone, I sat on my couch and looked around, thought about what had led here, and decided, yes, hard, painful, costly, but right. My phone buzzed. Group text from Jared. New group, new rules, no asking for money, no drama, just checking in. Mina replied, Agreed. Miranda, I'm in. I stared at the phone, typed, I'm in too. Jared, cool, so, anyone watch that game last night? And just like that, we had a normal conversation. It wasn't much, but it was something, and something was more than we'd had in a long time. I went to bed that night in my own apartment, alone, free, uncertain, but no longer drowning, and that was enough. 2 months after cutting them off, I drove Jared to the airport, just the two of us. You nervous? I asked. Terrified. Good. Fear means you understand what you're about to do. We reached his gate. Can I ask you something? Jared said. Sure. Do you regret it? Cutting us off? I thought about it. No. I regret that it had to happen, but I don't regret doing it. Because it taught us a lesson? Because it forced all of us to be honest. I hated you for a while. I know. I don't anymore? I know that too. He smiled. How? Because you're here, about to do something hard. That's not the action of someone who hates me. They called his boarding group. He stood up. Will you really come to my graduation? I'll really come. Even if it's expensive? I'm not funding your life anymore, but I'll still show up for important moments. That's the difference. He nodded. Thank you, he said, for everything, for raising me, for cutting me off, for loving me enough to let me fall. You're welcome. He hugged me, hard, long. Then he walked through security and disappeared. I stood there watching the space where he'd been, drove home to my apartment, found a text from Mina. Jared off? Yeah. Good. Hey, can we get coffee next week? I want to talk about school, and maybe about us. Tuesday work? Perfect. Tuesday came. I met Mina at the coffee shop. I've been thinking about going back to school, part-time, while working. That's smart. But I need to figure out how to pay for it. I wanted advice on how you did it. I told her. about community college, about night shifts, about sacrifice and discipline. She listened, really listened. "I can do that," she said. "I know you can." "Can I tell you something?" "Sure." "I thought you hated us when you cut us off." "I never stopped being your dad. I just stopped enabling you." "I understand that now. I didn't then." "Are you still mad at us?" "No, I was never mad. I was hurt and tired and done being invisible." "We see you now." "Do you?" "Yeah, we do." I looked at her, this young woman I'd helped raise. "I see you too, and I'm proud of who you're becoming." She started crying. Quiet, real crying. "I'm sorry, for all of it. For being horrible. For saying you weren't our real parent. Thank you. Do you forgive us?" "Yes. But forgiveness doesn't mean going back to how things were. It means moving forward differently." "I can live with that." We finished our coffee, hugged goodbye. I drove back to my apartment, to my quiet, to my peace. 3 months later, I flew to South Carolina for Jared's graduation. Miranda and Mina were there too. We sat together, not as a perfect family, but as people learning to be a family differently. When Jared marched out with his unit, I saw the change, the discipline, the pride. After the ceremony, he found us. "You came," he said. "I said I would." We took pictures, all of us. That night, we had dinner together, and for the first time in years, we talked, really talked, about Jared's training, about Mina's plans for community college, about moving forward, not perfect, not healed, but better. At the airport the next day, saying goodbye, Miranda pulled me aside. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For not giving up on them, even when you gave up on us." "I didn't give up. I let go. There's a difference." She nodded. "I'm learning that." "So am I." On the plane home, I looked out the window at the clouds below, thought about the past 3 months, the pain, the growth, the change, thought about my apartment, my job, my peace, thought about Jared in his uniform, Mina working 2 jobs while planning for school, Miranda learning boundaries, thought about a family fractured and slowly, painfully, rebuilding itself into something healthier. I pulled out my phone, opened the family group chat, typed, "Proud of all of you. See you soon." 3 responses came back almost immediately. Jared, "Love you, Dad." Mina, "Love you too." Miranda, "Thank you for everything." I stared at those messages, put my phone away, closed my eyes, and for the first time in 16 years, I felt something I'd almost forgotten existed. Hope, not for what we'd been, but for what we might become. A family built on respect instead of obligation, on honesty instead of enabling, on love that required responsibility. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined when I stood in that kitchen 3 months ago, canceling their tuition payments, but it was the ending we'd earned, and that made it real.